Okay, everybody, it is time for the More Than ADHD podcast, episode 4. So grab some hydration and your favorite fidget, and let's get started. I'm your host, Ryan Mayer, Certified ADHD Coach, Neuroinclusion Advocate, and Master Facilitator. I'm working on self-describing. So, I am a Caucasian male with short brown hair, green eyes, and a contagious, enthusiastic, genuine demeanor. If you're someone who struggles with goal setting, especially if you have ADHD, then this is the episode for you. How to stop missing the mark. If you're new here, I just want to say thanks for stopping by. We're so glad you're here and wanted to let you know that you belong here. It's nice to feel that you're in a place where you belong and you can authentically be yourself. And that's why, one of the reasons why I started the podcast is to be able to talk more openly about what it's like having ADHD and to remind all of you that if you do have ADHD, that you are, wait for it, more than ADHD. You are more than your diagnosis. That's just a part of you. But yes, if this is your first time, please subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would really, really appreciate it if you could leave a comment. We're going to have a couple of call to actions to prompt you to do that throughout the episode. But please subscribe and share this episode if you got value. And you may want to consider also joining our digital community, the Ryan Mayer Digital Community. That is free. You can check out the show notes and you can join for free. There's other paid tiers if you want to get additional benefits, but that is totally your call. We are glad that you're here. Towards the beginning of the podcast and a couple times throughout, we just want to say thanks to our sponsors at ADHD Online. If you've never heard of them, they are an incredible resource, especially if you're thinking, a lot of Coach Ryan's content looks very familiar. So if you don't have an ADHD diagnosis, great news. It's never too late to explore it. If you are anyone over the age of 40, really any age, but especially over the age of 40, I just want to let you know, ADHD is not just for kids anymore. ADHD is not just boys. Those are all way outdated myths. You deserve to get answers. So go to ADHD Online to learn more about how you can take their ADHD assessment, which is one of the most comprehensive on the web today. And then when you get to checkout, make sure that you put in the code CoachRyan50, CoachRyan50 to get $50 off. And that's a big discount. You're welcome. As you heard at the top of the podcast, today's topic is how to stop missing the mark. Here's our question of the day. What targets are you trying to hit? What targets are you trying to hit? Because let's face it, if you don't pick a target, how are you supposed to hit it? If you don't pick a target, how do you expect to hit that target? I know that sounds obvious, but so many people that I work with, when I ask them what are they trying to accomplish, they're not quite sure. And sometimes, and those of you who have ADHD, you understand what I mean by this. It's easier to just stay busy doing other dopamine generating activities than it is to pause long enough to think about, what do I want? What do I want? Ryan's tip of the day today is it's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if it's not perfect. What do I mean by that? Right now, you've heard the phrase, the third time's the charm. Well, this is the third time, literally the third time that we are trying to record this episode. We had some technical issues. Imagine recording something for an hour and then after you hit stop, it tells you the file's corrupted. Ooh, what's harder than getting something done? This is like a riddle. What's harder than getting something done when you have ADHD? Doing the same thing over again. Oh, that hurts. But you know what? I showed up. We're here. I have so much support and encouragement from the audience, the followers, the listeners. So thank you so much. And a special shout out to a few of my one-on-one and group clients who have done what ADHD folks do so well, which is give feedback. And they asked, hey, would you be open to some feedback? And I said, yeah. And one of them who I'm dedicating this episode to, he told me, the Coach Ryan that I know and love, I don't hear him on the episode because you just feel like everything feels rushed. And so, yes, while I want to cover a lot of content, I'm not going to time box it anymore because that was putting undue pressure on it. And I'm also going to try to just organically flow through the material without feeling like there's so many segments. When I did a presentation about goal setting earlier this year, I came up with this little phrase that's called the refrain to retain. The refrain to retain. Who are you? Who? And it's actually by, ironically, the band The Who. It's like, come on, you couldn't get a more creative song than Who Are You? Anyways, who is more important than the how? What do I mean by that? I know a lot of times when we do goal setting, we're thinking, okay, what do I have to do or how am I going to get this done? Instead, let's think about it as who do you need to be to reach that goal? I'm looking this quote up. Here it is. It's not about the goal itself. It's about growing to become the person that can accomplish the goal. Ooh, there it is. I was just talking to a client today about the book, The Coaching Habit, by Michael Bungay Stanier, and he also has another book that's called How to Begin. So I'm going to definitely have to check that out. In today's episode, here's what we're going to cover. So stay with us. Explain what the benefits of goal setting are. Understand why you keep missing the mark and what that has to do with ADHD. Create your own definition of success because it can be different for different people. Know what your pre-flight checklist is.
This is your captain speaking. What is your pre-flight checklist? Come in over.
How to experience the abundance mindset more often and decide who you will be once you get to your destination as well. Okay. If you don't have a dream, how can you have your dream come true? If you don't have a dream, how can you have your dream come true? Because let's face it, when it comes down to it, if you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. Oh, hi, I have a question. For those of you who are listening right now, not seeing the video, I'm raising my hand. Yes, in the front there. Hi, question. How do you define success? How do you define success? Is it getting promoted? Is it making a lot of money? Is it buying a lot of the fancy things, all the toys? Is it just happy wife, happy life? Is it having a great physique? What is it for you? Feel free to comment below. Would love to know, where are you listening from and what's your definition of success? Put it in the comments. And if you're just listening, that means you got to stop over to YouTube and subscribe so you can comment as well. At the beginning of the year, or I should say at the end of the year, everyone starts thinking about their New Year's resolutions, New Year's resolutions. So I am resolute that I'm going to make a change. And then if you have ADHD, 3 days later, you have forgotten what your goals for the year were, right? Well, a goal is a desired result that we want to achieve. And then objective means here are the steps that we have towards getting to that goal. One definition that I saw was a desired result that you plan and commit to achieve. I know that I'm definitely guilty of this, that many times we see a goal as, well, once I weigh such and such amount of pounds. I was actually just talking with a client about this today. Shout out to this client. You know who you are. In the last 2 months, he has already lost 12 pounds. He's looking lean and friendly. Not lean and mean. Why does it always have to be lean and mean? Lean and friendly. But once I achieve this goal, I'll be happy. Well, then that promotes this always chasing mentality. And remember earlier when I said we're going to talk about the abundance mindset? It's not about once you get there. It's about the process of getting there. The problem with this goal first mentality is that we end up delaying our happiness. Like, if I achieve my goal, I'll be happy. We have that backwards. Like, The fact that we are striving towards achieving the goal is good. I know Tony Robbins has this, one of his definitions of success is that progress is success. Success is progress. So if you're making progress, you're successful right there, because you could just be sitting on the couch doing nothing, but you're making progress. I thought of a couple of analogies with this for goal setting. If you're still struggling to kind of wrap your head around it, I know one of my best friends in the world, Joe Melendrez, he lives in Los Angeles, California. So Joe, if you're listening, shout out to you and your family, your growing family. And I was just thinking, since I'm here in tropical Cleveland, Ohio, it would be silly for me to decide, you know what, I'm going to go visit Joe. I call him J-Mel. I'm going to go visit J-Mel in Los Angeles. And I just go and I hop in my car here in Cleveland, and I just, you know what, I don't know his address. I don't really know how to get there. I'm just going to start driving west and hope for the best. Are any of you out there taking that same mentality with your goal setting? How's that working out? Because obviously, if I'm going to go somewhere, I need to be very specific. What is Joe's address in Los Angeles? Am I going to drive? No. You know what? Let me think about that. No, the best way to get there is by taking a jet. I'm not going to drive. And then once I get off the jet, how am I going to get there once I land? So hopefully you get the analogy of what I'm going with here. Is, yeah, specific is terrific. And I think I mentioned that in a previous episode as well. If someone tells me, I want to be healthier, I want to pay off my mortgage, I want to fix my marriage. You know what? I guess paying off my mortgage, that's fairly specific. But you get my point here is those are good themes, but they're not specific enough. How much weight do you want to remove? How big do you want to build your business? What do you mean by be healthier? How much money's left to pay off your mortgage? That kind of thing. If you are part of the digital community, or if you are one of my coaching clients, you know that one of the ways that I sign off a lot of times is saying, I believe in you. But really, we can do this. There's so much that I've accomplished that I never would have imagined that I could have done. But when you keep showing up, you get closer and closer. You know another big reason why people are not achieving their goals? They're experiencing false evidence that's appearing real. Let's put this acronym up here. False evidence appearing real. Oh my goodness, it's fear. We're afraid. We're afraid we're going to fail. And trust me, this is not me. I'm not criticizing or even judging, because I've done this myself, where we're afraid because we've been told our whole lives, when you have ADHD, you're doing it wrong. Now, that's not how we do it here. Does that sound familiar to anyone? It's no surprise, though, that this is a stumbling block for a lot of humans, not just people with ADHD, because the human brain, I mean, our brains are wired for survival, so they're going to avoid the things that are uncomfortable, that are, prehistoric versions of our brain are thinking, no, we can't do that, because if we fail at that, like we might be kicked out of the tribe. Well, and then we practice this avoidance behavior, which is a fancier term for procrastination. Why do we avoid working on things that we know are important to us? Again, it's our brains. Our brains are so dopamine deprived that having to pause and think, how am I going to get to this destination? You know what? You don't have to think about these details now. Let's go scroll, or let's go, play video games, or use substances that make us feel really good. Don't listen to your brain when it tells you that. The truth is that if you put ambiguous goals out there, you're going to get ambiguous results, right? How can you measure it if you don't even know what you're aiming for? Here's a warning about chasing the dopamine. You've probably heard that phrase. Pleasure seeking, chasing dopamine. We all know what happens at the end. It's a shame spiral, because it's a bottomless pit that leads to nothing except maybe regret or feelings of emptiness, because that means we are able to prioritize. We're just essentially prioritizing the wrong things. Because we'll talk about this in a different episode, but if we don't set boundaries and get very specific about when we're going to put in the time to work towards our goals, well, then we're just prioritizing the wrong things. When you say yes to things that feel good temporarily, you're saying no to everything else, right? Because if you're engaged in, let's say, doom scrolling, well, then you're not able to work on your other goals. A goal without a blank is just a blank. Again, that's a goal without a blank is just a blank. I'm going to let you think about that while we pause for some words about our sponsors.
Do you think you might have ADHD? Or even you're pretty sure you don't, but you've been wondering why you're having such trouble focusing? Visit ADHD Online. Regardless of your results, you'll be closer to getting the care and support that you deserve. Visit ADHDonline.com, and at checkout, you can enter code Coach Ryan. That's COACHRYAN 50 for $50 off your online assessment. ADHDonline.com. Better health for all. I don't know about that last line. I made that up, but you should go to ADHD Online. Okay, so did you solve our riddle? A goal without a blank is just a blank. The answer is a goal without a plan is just a dream. I think you're probably starting to get the theme here. What people with ADHD need is to create systems rather than just setting goals. We need to create systems that will give us the framework to make progress by taking specific action. There we go. The secret to building a great system is to focus on small, consistent wins. The emphasis there is on small and consistent. The consistency part, that's tough for us sometimes. Because once you can get small, consistent steps going, that's the secret to creating big, sustainable change. It's like muscle memory. What happens when you take a wrong turn or you get off of the route? Rerouting, right? So I can tell you about a quick story about a time when I had to reroute. It was the holidays 2022. And I thought to myself, we're having some issues with our dryer. I think it's malfunctioning. Hey, honey, is there something wrong with it? Did you change the setting on the dryer? And Andrea's like, no, that's my wife. She's no, what do you mean? I don't know. Like a bunch of my shorts and pants are feeling very tight. And the second time that it happened, the next week or whatever, I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe it's not the laundry. Oh my goodness, I'm putting on weight. I was off course. I wasn't happy with that. But here's the thing is if I would just give up, because a lot of times we tend to be, when you have ADHD, it tends to be a catastrophizing where it's like, well, that's it. Throw in the towel, bring out a cake. I'm just going to eat it all right now. No, you're just a little bit off course. That's okay. So instead of having it be an all or nothing mentality, just make sure you're on the right path and you can reroute. That's okay. And a big shout out to my friend and accountability partner, Justin Zrenner. I remember when we were putting together this presentation around goal setting, he had sent me the link to a interview with monk turned entrepreneur Jay Shetty. And Jay Shetty had this really cool concept. He talked about monitoring versus measuring. So in other words, just make sure you're heading in the right direction as opposed to like, oh, I have to do this exact thing or else it's a total failure. Change your language from goal setting to goal getting. You have to take action if you want to get to your goals. Goal getting. Right, so here's a fun question. Would love to have you answer it in the chat. What would you do if you couldn't fail? What would you do if you couldn't fail? And again, if you are listening to this, just maybe think about it. You can send us a message. And let us know what would you do if you could not fail. Goal setting is actually about is about living happier lives, being happier with the lives we're living. That's it. And just want to thank our friends over at ADHD Online. They're truly incredible. And ADHD can sometimes just trick us into focusing on only our weaknesses. And that's the wrong mindset. It leaves us not nearly enough time to focus on all the great things that we have going for us. And that's just how our brains work. And the folks at ADHD Online understand this. That's why they have qualified professionals to support you. And you can go check out their site to learn more. And whatever you end up doing, you can put in Coach Ryan 50 at checkout to get $50 off. That's my gift to you. And big thanks to folks at ADHD Online. As always, like I said, I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for spending time. And I just want to let you know that you're worth it. You're amazing. Your ADHD doesn't define you. It's just part of who you are. Thank you for tuning in, and can't wait to see you next time. Bye.